Hi, John. I guess my Tanner's going to get more FaceTime than I get, but I'm going to run through your hardware on your saber. I've got some music in the background. They tell me I should do that. So here's your lightsaber, and again, I'll say this is the coolest gift in the world for a Star Wars person. This is your cousin Jeff from Ohio, Buckeye country, or better said, Bearcat country. So this is the hilt. It's got a nice weight to it. Looks a lot like, very close replica to the Qui-Gon Jinn lightsaber from the Phantom Menace. So I set that as your default sound font, which I'll get into in a moment. You've got an activation button that will turn the saber on, and then you might be able to see it. There's an aux button. I painted that black. That gives you additional features like a blaster deflection. So let's see here. You might be able to see it. The lighting isn't real great for that, but down inside of this guy is a pogo pin connector, and that's what's going to connect to the bottom of your blade. And that's what gives us our conductivity to the blade. The blade itself, polycarbonate tube, it's actually built, I would say, light dueling, light to moderate, nothing too crazy. Probably could handle more than that, but I just like not to beat these things up too much. It's about 34 inches. The tip has got a pointy tip, which I love. I actually drilled that out and hollowed it out so the LED strip extends into the tip. There's an actual LED strip, 250 LEDs. Now, when you see it on video, it's perfectly lit, but when you're in front of it, there's a little bit of shadowing on the strip because it's two strips and where they come together. But it's pretty intense and very light, very bright. The strip itself is inside of foam, so it's nice and safe, and then the foam's inside of a diffusion tube, so you don't see the individual bulbs or LEDs, and then of course that's inside of this 1-inch polycarbonate tube. So it's pretty durable. Additionally, you see here, I've got this Allen key that will come with it, and that's for using for tightening this screw at the top. That is your blade retention screw. So when you insert the blade, you're going to tighten this down on the blade. There's another retention screw here. You do not want to touch that one. That one holds your, and there's actually 3 others like it, that one holds the LED connectivity module in place. So you don't want to touch that. The other 3 you can't see because they're underneath this aluminum shroud. So Tanner actually is sitting on top of your blade here. That's okay. So to operate the saber, there's your activation button. There's your aux features, but you'll notice nothing's happening. That's because the kill key is in. So this saber has multiple sound fonts. So what a sound font is, it's a set of sounds for each particular ignition sequence, and I've created several fonts and colors. So the first one is going to be the Qui-Gon Jinn, because that's his saber, and that's going to have sounds that are very close to the Qui-Gon Jinn sounds from the Phantom Menace. What kind of sounds? You get a different ignition, a different retraction, you get blaster deflections, clashes, swings, all of those are randomized. So that's really nice. Also, you get a lockup sound effect, which is really sweet. And then you get the same sound effect for a drag operation. And the drag is where we generate a lockup, but we point the blade down, and then just the tip indicates that it's dragging through something. It's pretty sweet. Now, additional to that, you can switch to the next font. So the next font in your list is Return of the Jedi Luke Skywalker font. The next one is a Luke Skywalker Bespin font, which is, I love that sound font, straight out of Empire Strikes Back. So I gave you a blue blade for that one. So the first 2 are green, then blue. 4th sound font, absolutely love, is a Rogue One sound font for Darth Vader. Sounds very similar to Empire Strikes Back, Rogue One. And that's, of course, red. I made that blade kind of slowly pulsate, a little more intimidating. It's also got just a little hint of pink to it, and if you watch Empire Strikes Back, it did have a hint of pink. Then I repeat those a couple of those sound fonts, Qui-Gon and Vader, because I then use what's called a flame blade. So the flame blade, you'll see it just pulsates. It's pretty cool. It's a unique feature to the control board. Now the control board in here, this is the first saber I've gotten a chance to use this board. I did a lot of testing over the holidays with it. That board is called a Profi board, and I love it because it's Arduino based. It means I can actually do some programming on it and customize it, which I did. After you get through those sound fonts comes the Teensy sound font, and 3 or 4 of these what we call Teensy sound fonts. What's sweet about these is that they have a feature called smooth swing. So the other sound fonts, when you swing the saber, you'll get a swing sound. But when you get to the Teensy, it actually adjusts the swing sound with the speed. So when I go slow, I'll get a slow swing. When I go fast, I'll get a fast swing. And when you're using the saber, it's an amazing difference. So you'll run through 3 or 4 of those Teensies, and then back to your Qui-Gon. So how do you switch a sound font? While the saber is powered on but not ignited, you'll press the power button and bang the blade, do a clash, or you can even bang the hilt, and you'll hear the sound font switch to the next font. At each new font, you'll hear a new ID. So I'll go ahead and walk through that. So to enable the saber, you remove the pommel, and that is your kill key. Also, your recharge port. So if I wanted to charge it, I can plug this in, and that will charge the saber. So while it's charging, when this LED is red, that means it's charging the battery. When it goes to green, it means the battery is charged. It's a powerhouse of a battery. This is a 3,500 milliamp hour, which is a large capacity, capable of 15 amps out. Very powerful battery, lithium ion. Now, don't be over aggressive with inserting this kill key, because this is a custom made disc that I installed, and it's held in by 2 set screws, so I don't want it to get off balance. If something like that did happen, let me know. I can probably walk you through fixing it, or you could send it to me, I'll fix it, but I don't think it will. You'd have to kind of go a little crazy. Tanner seems to be enjoying the video. So now when I remove this, you're going to hear Qui-Gon.
May the Force be with you.
That's the sound font for Qui-Gon. And this saber is loud. Parents have a problem with that. You could put a piece of foam down here in the pommel, and that'll help a lot, but I like a loud saber, so I'm not messing with that. Alright, so I'll do it without the blade to begin with. There's your swings, flashes, here's your blaster deflections. That's a force sound if there is one in there. Tap it. Okay, so now if I want to switch fonts, I'm going to press this. That's another feature, by the way. If you press and hold the power button, it will fire up a soundtrack. I've loaded a soundtrack for each font that's appropriate to that sound font. You could actually do the soundtrack and have that running. Well, there I somehow generated it. So that went to the Return of the Jedi. So this is the same, it's a little different sound font. Yep. That's from Return of the Jedi. The blaster deflection's right out of the speeder bike scene. Let's see if I can get to...
I wonder when to waste the Force and become a Jedi.
Sometimes I trigger that by accident. So this is the Bespin, and if you watch Empire Strikes Back, the clashes sound just like this. It's wonderful. Here's a lockup sound. I press the power button and generate a clash. And then release the power button. So let's go to the next sound font. That's your Vader. Now this is where we get into, I think I'm getting into the smooth swings now. Well, no.
May the Force be with you. Teensy.
Here's your smooth swing. This is pretty sweet. So now you'll notice if I do it slow, gives you a really realistic effect. So I'm gonna reset the sound fonts, although I can keep going through them. I'll just do that. Let's see if you see it.
Smooth Jedi.
That's Smooth Jedi. Also, any of the, once you start teensies, all of them are smooth sound fonts, smooth swings.
Smooth gray. Smooth fuzz.
And you'll see I loaded each of these with a different blade color. And I should go back to, maybe not.
May the force be with you.
So now I'm going to go ahead and plug in the blade. So here we just insert the blade till it bottoms out, and then give it a little pressure because it's got to press into those pogo pins. And then you're going to tighten up your blade retention screw. And now this is a moment of truth. Blaster deflection will actually generate a pulse that moves from inside out. So I'm going to pause this and re-angle this so you can see it better. Alright, we'll try this again here. So you can see a clash or a lockup here. This is pretty sweet. I'm going to hold the power button and do a clash. And you can see just the tip. It's called a drag. I release the power button. Now if I do the same thing in a different position, hold the power button. There's my lockup effect. Now I'm going to switch sound fonts.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Okay, sit down, Tanner. Now this is the Return of the Jedi. Very similar color, a little bit deeper green. The lockup is different. I love the lockup in this one. Straight out of the throne room scene.
I want to learn the ways of the
This
force
is
and become a
Bespin,
Jedi like my father.
which is one of my favorites. Here's your Rogue One or Vader sound. This one has a nice pulsation to it. Blaster deflections, lockup. And again, lockup is just press the power button and generate a clash. And then release the power button. The drag effect is the same thing, only the blade pointed down. And then just the tip lights up, so you're dragging across the floor here. And release the power button.
May the force be with you.
Now this is what we call a fire blade. This is pretty cool, so I just gave you a couple of blades that are fire blades. This is the Qui-Gon version. So it's got a pulsation through the blade, and then all the other effects essentially are the same. And then I did it for the Vader. And then you'll have a fire blade for the Vader as well.
Teensy.
And here's your smooth swing. I think that's a blue.
Smooth Jedi.
I gave you a purple here, and you'll notice the tip is really well lit. A lot of folks have the tip not well lit because they have the tip is a full piece of polycarbonate. In your case, I actually drilled out the tip, and the LEDs extend into the tip so it lights up evenly with the saber.
Smooth gray.
This one I gave kind of a funky blade there, a little bit of dazzle. I think it's actually dazzle is the name of it. this is an actual fire color, or orange, really. So it's really an orange color. And you'll notice your blade, by the way, is a little bit, almost feels scuffed. And that's on purpose. I do that to these. It gives you a little better, more even light refraction. This one doesn't have a name, your last font, so it doesn't have a name, but I did this one. This is pretty cool. This is what we call a tip extend. You'll see a white light extend with the blade.
May the force be with you.
One difference between the Qui-Gon is I changed the speed of extension, so the Qui-Gon is somewhat fast, but the
I see you have constructed.
this is the Luke Return of the Jedi font. This one's a fast extension, because that's what it was in Return of the Jedi. Now this shroud is just the way it's made. It's got a little bit of looseness to it here, so you don't, if this starts to loosen up, I don't think it will, but I didn't Loctite it. Go ahead and tighten that down. I don't think you'll have any trouble with the blade, not the blade retention, but the LED holder, but if that were to loosen up, you'll probably have to snug it up, or you can send it to me and I'll Loctite it at that point. I didn't Loctite it because if I ever have to do anything to them, I don't like to have to break that. I don't use the red Loctite, I use blue. The blue is stuff that just holds it steady but doesn't really provide an unbreakable thread lock. Let's see. Okay, so when you're done with the saber, really you don't have to use the kill key, but you definitely want to hang on to this. And that kill key has a solid side and it has a hollow side. The hollow side is the one you want to use. So if I want to kill power to this, I'm going to use the hollow side. And this also, by the way, for some reason the saber acts funky. Just insert the kill key and remove it and that'll reset it, but I don't think you'll have an issue with that. So there you can see I inserted it nice and easy. Now the saber is dead. The same thing would be true if I inserted the charger, because the charger will disconnect power from the board but have a direct connection from the charger to the battery. And not a bad idea to charge it when you're not using it. Well, don't leave it on the charger though. I never trust chargers to do that, but when they go green, it's not going to be a problem. It shouldn't be feeding it any more current. It's a deep socket in here for this blade retention. It goes all the way down to I think about here, which gives you a really solid blade. So that's nice. And this length I love. This is a great blade length. Could have been, some I've made longer. This one I didn't because the hilt itself is pretty long. It's got a great feel, great weight. Remove the kill key.
May the force be with you.
Put your pommel back in. And it's ready to rock. Oh, also, if you want music playing, I think I told you that. Also, while the blade is lit, if you hold the power button, that's going to generate the force effect sound for that sound font. So some of them have better effect sounds than others.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
The Luke one, you'll hear the... Let's see here. There you go. I think I might have two in there and it randomizes them. I will try one more time. See, I might only have one. Yeah. Now...
I want to learn the ways of the Force and become a Jedi like my father.
Pretty sure this is a choke effect. So this is a forced choke on the sound effect. Yep, you can hear it hum. Yeah, that's pretty sweet. This is the one blade that I added some pulsation to. Well, I have a little pulsation in all of them, but this one is, if you watch it, it's just kind of slowly, about every second and a half, it's moving in and out from a lighter to a darker shade. Gives a little more of that Vader intimidating feel. This sound form is excellent. Let's see here, get you lock up. Having trouble holding my button here. Okay. Well, if you have any questions, there are instructions down in the video caption as well. If you have any questions, email me, call me, whatever, and I'll be happy to help out. I think you'll figure out most of these features as you're using them. May
the force be with you.
The aux button is pretty nice. Oh, you know what? I didn't realize. I think I've got the aux button programmed to switch sound fonts when it's powered off.
Teensy.
Oh yeah, that's much easier. Huh. How about that? It's been so long, I programmed it in December.
Smooth Jedi.
So when you're powered off, you hit the aux button, that'll cycle through the sound fonts. That's an easier way to do it.
Smooth Gray.
Much easier way to do it.
Smooth Fuzz. Rogue Commander.
Here's the one with a tip extender. Doesn't have an introduction sound, and then here's your quiet.
May the force be with you.
Well, that's much better.
Indeed, you are powerful, as the Emperor has foreseen.
Here's your Return of the Jedi. And here's your Empire Strikes Back Bespin. Might be my personal favorite. Also, you'll notice I'm getting some clashes on power up. It's because it's so loud, but there are some. When the battery starts to get lower, you'll get more random clashes like that. Okay, give me a shout if you have questions.